President Trump greeted by chants of USA, USA at the Army-Navy game this weekend as the president emerged onto the turf of Michie Stadium at West Point for the 121st annual Army-Navy football game. Support for the president also on display at a rally in front of the U.S. Supreme Court yesterday, led by retired Lieutenant General Michael Flynn. He addressed the crowd, capping off an incredible few weeks, which included the case against him dismissed and a pardon by President Trump. Later, a Marine One flyover in Washington as three-star Lieutenant General Flynn addressed the Jericho March in front of the Supreme Court. General Flynn joins me right now. General Michael Flynn, it is great to have you this morning. Thank you so much for joining us. You are a true patriot and an honor for our country. Thank you for being here.
Thanks so much, Maria, and really appreciate you having me on.
You talked about the election at that speech yesterday. Give us your reaction to where we are in the state of affairs, sir.
Well, here's where I think we are. First of all, there's a whole number of paths that the president has, and like I say, asked on a scale of 1 to 10, who will be the next president? I say 10, Donald Trump. One of the things, like Sidney Powell right now has 4 lawsuits pending at the Supreme Court. And there are other Supreme Court suits that are pending today and will probably be played out this week. I would also add that we have conclusive evidence of foreign interference in our election. And it's available to the public right now at defendingtherepublic.org or kraken-wood.com. And that, to me, as I think you spoke about earlier to either Jim Jordan or Ron Johnson, you have the DNI coming up on, I think, this Friday with a report on a whole range of issues. If he does the duty that I think he is very capable of doing, and the intelligence community provides a clear, unfiltered assessment, then they're going to discover that. And one of the things that I would recommend, if I were the DNI, or certainly if I were the National Security Advisor, is I think that the President of the United States has to trigger his executive order, I think, of 2018, and probably appoint a special counsel to look into all this. And what that does is that does slow everything down and has to put on a fast track to be able to determine exactly what happened, because we have serious foreign influence problems with this Dominion voting machine.
General, what do you want to say in terms of the proof of that? Because Dominion has pushed back on Fox News, on others who say that that's just not true. They gave us a statement. The same with Smartmatic. Can you prove that? And can you prove that there was foreign interference, sir?
So there is evidence already. And like I said, you go to the defendingtherepublic.org, and in there is the evidence. It's clear. And why not? So from my perspective, as in the position that I have been in, but also as an American citizen, why not go and look at this thing? I know that there is still a preliminary review being done up in Antrim County. I don't have all the details of that, but there's a hearing up there. I think, if I have it correctly, it's tomorrow sometime. But why not look into this if, in fact, the evidence that we have is true? And we definitely believe that it is true. There is clear evidence. And so what we have to stop doing is saying, well, nothing to see here. We're going to continue to march down the road towards a false inauguration, which the country will not allow that right now. We have to get the last election right before we start talking about any other runoff elections like they are down in Georgia. That's a falsehood that people shouldn't even be considering right now.
So let me ask you about your own story, General, because you were named by President Trump the incoming National Security Advisor. And the perpetrators wanted to take you down. They sent FBI agents to interview you. Jim Comey talked about this during an interview when he was on MSNBC about why he sent agents over to interview you. And you were there alone, no lawyer. Let's take a listen to what Jim Comey told us about that interview. Here it is.
I thought it's early enough. Let's just send a couple guys over. And so we placed a call to Flynn, said, hey, we're sending a couple guys over. hope you'll talk to them. He said, sure. Nobody else was there. They interviewed him in a conference room at the White House Situation Room, and he lied to them.
General, your reaction to that?
Yeah, a big ha-ha moment for Cardinal Comey. What an arrogant, smug person that he is, you know. So that'll be my last comment about him. The culture and the behavior that was developed or allowed or enabled under the previous administration in elements of the Department of Justice, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the United States intelligence community, and other parts of our institutions is outrageous. The culture and that behavior has to change. It has to be corrected. We cannot have that kind of smugness and arrogance and basically holier than thou attitude within our government institutions when it comes to dealing with American citizens. Frankly, my persecution was a political persecution, and that's really clear. And the evidence has come out in spades. Basically, it was a get Flynn to get Trump direction, and it started right at the very top of the previous administration. So on all of that, Maria, what the American public deserve, and you've been talking about this for a long time, and you've been great about it, is we America deserves accountability. We deserve accountability in these bureaucrats and these appointed officials in our government. And I'd like to actually see more come out of our legislative branch and our senators and our members of the House. But, you know, we have people like Swalwell over there that's got this massive problem. While the counterintelligence structure and system and leadership was focused on Mike Flynn and President Donald J. Trump, the counterintelligence effort, they should have been focused on Swalwell. And I will tell you that if there's one smoking bush there with Swalwell, I guarantee there's others. And so the counterintelligence system in our country better get rid of this arrogance that they've had under people like McCabe and Strzok. And they need to make sure that they're really going after the real threats that we have. And that threat against that we have now learned about, and frankly, Hunter Biden and the entire Biden Foundation and family, this is dangerous stuff. We are playing with fire right now.